No, 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 no problem.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Boddie.
No, I want to say that I really appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. It is an honor to be able to speak with Democrats in North Georgia. My day job, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I've had cases in Whitfield County, right there on the Georgia-Tennessee line. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. But just a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in Atlanta. But I went to Valdosta State University in South Georgia, went to Mercer Law School in Middle Georgia, Macon, and I've been serving in the Georgia General Assembly now since 2016. Sworn in 2017. This is my last legislative session. We Sunny died last night. It was very, very contentious and hectic legislative session, which I could talk a little bit about later. But during my time in the Georgia General Assembly, I've served in various leadership positions. One position I'm very proud of, I was elected as the House Minority Whip as a freshman. Basically, I was the second ranking Democrat of the Georgia House of Representatives behind the House Democratic leader. At the time, we had 75 Democrats in the Georgia House. Very proud of that. Been able to pass over 27 bills as a Democrat in 6 sessions, including being the lead co-sponsor, co-author of the Citizens Arrest Repeal legislation that passed last session, which was in direct response to the Ahmaud Arbery murder from February of 2020. So I was very happy to see those guilty verdicts November last year in the state court case out of Glenn County. And I was glad to see the guilty verdicts in the federal case back in January. Right now, I'm endorsed by over 160 Democrats across the state, elected officials, Democratically elected officials, progressives, and I'm just proud to be here. I want to make sure that as next Georgia Labor Commissioner that I put Georgia workers first. And I want to do that by first starting out, first day, putting Georgia workers first by giving Georgia citizens access to their labor department. I want to do that by opening up the doors to the Department of Labor. Right now, during the pandemic, the doors have been pretty much closed for 2 years. As a state legislator, in the early days of the pandemic, March of 2020, that April, that May, I was getting the phone calls along with other Georgia legislators to answer the questions from constituents across the state. Where is my unemployment benefits? Where is what is the status of my appeal since I've been denied? What is my PIN number? And so I want to make sure that we have a Department of Labor that's responsive to all Georgia citizens. I'm still getting those emails, Facebook messages to this day, 2 years into the pandemic. So I want to start on day one, hiring a labor call center to be able to pick up the phone and be able to answer any question. I want to make sure it's a live human being with the Department of Labor that's answering the question of workers across the state. If that's, like I said, from your PIN number to whatever. So we need to make sure that we have access to the Department of Labor for our citizens. Also, I want to make sure that we have more career centers throughout the state of Georgia. The last Democrat that held that position back in 2010 when he left was CEO Michael Thurman of DeKalb County. When he was in office as a Democrat, we had over 80 career centers throughout the state of Georgia. And like I said, now we only have 42, 41. We also had over 4,000 employees with the Department of Labor, and now we have about 1,100. So the Department of Labor was never set up to deal with a pandemic, a global pandemic, economic recession, or just day-to-day operations. The COVID-19 pandemic really exposed the shortfalls of the Georgia Department of Labor and the Republican Labor Commissioner, Mark Butler. So I want to make sure that we also upgrade the antiquated technology. The technology has not been upgraded since a Democrat was in office. So right now, the Department of Labor is pretty much working with a mainframe hybrid web-based program. I want to make sure that we go to a completely web-based program. So if we have another economic recession or pandemic, and I hope we don't, that we can communicate in real time with the U.S. Department of Labor and Congress to make sure any benefits, unemployment benefits, get into the bank accounts and pocketbooks and wallets of Georgia citizens who lost their jobs to no fault of their own. So that's on the claim side. On the workforce development side, I want to make sure that we're partnering with our labor unions to have living wage job opportunities so Georgia workers don't have to go from job 1 to job 2 to job 3 to make ends meet. And I want to do that by partnering with their amazing, robust apprenticeship programs that they already have for training and retraining opportunities for Georgians to get a living wage. Also, I want to make sure that we're partnering with the technical college systems of Georgia as well. By partnering with our technical colleges, we can get a lot of those vocational opportunities for Georgians who want to train or retrain for another career. I think it's also very important that we partner with our career academies. It's critical to do that because our career academies that are ran by our local boards of education can allow a high school student in the 10th grade to learn a vocation or trade or craft and use that vocation, trade, or craft when they graduate from high school to go into a living wage, high-paying job, being in cybersecurity, construction, HVAC, CDL license, whatever that student decides to do, they can go into a living wage paying job right out of high school or into a situation where they can go to a technical college to continue to learn more about that trade, craft, or vocation. Also, if they choose to go to a four-year institution, they can still go to a traditional four-year institution as well. Also, I want to make sure that we're passing pro-worker legislation. Last night, I was very happy on the last day of the session, HB 1390 passed. HB 1390 is the sexual harassment retaliation legislation. Basically, what it does is allow any city or county employee to have a legal cause of action against their city or county employer who retaliates against that worker for speaking out or filing a sexual harassment complaint. And so it's first time that those workers will have the opportunity to have a legal cause of action against their city or county employer. Very happy about that legislation. It was a bipartisan bill, and now it's handed to the governor's desk for his signature. Also, I have been able to pass legislation to help our public defenders throughout the state of Georgia as well. Yesterday, I had a piece of legislation to pass where it will increase the pay rate of our circuit public defenders throughout the state of Georgia. I think that's directly in line with not only being fair with our wages and having those wages comparable and comparable to our judicial DAs, our judicial circuit DAs, but also it's a part of workforce development as well. I mean, these public defenders and assistant public defenders are workers, and they should be able to have a living wage as well. So I was very happy to see that legislation passed, and I was actually a member, one of the members who signed off on that bill as well. But also, I'm working on another piece of legislation, the Georgia Peer Navigator pilot program. And what this program would do is allow workers to help other workers get living wage paying jobs. And the first focus, one of the primary focus is rural Georgia. Any county with 50,000 citizens or less will be able to utilize this platform and this peer navigator program to get living wage paying jobs. Also, any veteran, any citizen that's been out of the workforce for an extended period of time, women, people of color, Native American, our seniors, any disabled citizen of the state will be able to utilize this program to get a living wage paying job. And so I'm just very excited to be here tonight to speak to the county party. Whitfield County is very important. I want to say congratulations on helping President Joe Biden flip the state of Georgia. I know you all brought home over 10,000 votes in that election back in 2020 to help President Biden flip the state of Georgia. But also just thank you for being fired up Democrats in North Georgia. I think it's amazing that we have Democrats across the state that are engaged in the electoral process and that have progressive ideas and get behind progressive Democratic candidates. And I just thank you for that. And I thank you for your energy in North Georgia as well. And also, I'll stand for any questions at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Representative Boddie, you answered a lot of things I was about to ask you anyway, particularly with the partnership with technical schools and technical colleges. Yes. And high school thing, because I think that's where we're going. I mean, we have. I could ask you as to where do you think what the job market is in the future. Now, in fact, I researched that before this call because I was going to maybe ask you that question. Yeah, but yeah. But that's it. I mean, those are the things exactly I want to hear what you're saying.
Yes, and I mean, you don't mind if I call you Dad? Is that okay?
No, that's please do.
Yes, Dan, you're absolutely right. I spoke to a group of small business owners, and I'm a small business owner as well. I own my own law firm now since 2008. My office is right in Douglas County, but we are going to a place where most of the jobs are moving to a place of kind of being a hybrid of technical skills, like technical skills that require computer skills as well. So you're combining both worlds where your automobile mechanic is not the same type of mechanic of my dad or granddad's generation. I mean, you have auto mechanics that wear white lab jackets, you know. I mean, it is so technical now. And cybersecurity, oh my God, it is the wave of the future. It is a lot of money and a lot of opportunities in that field. And so I think our technical colleges taking on that role of providing courses in cybersecurity is just a game changer for us as a state. And most of the technical colleges in the state of Georgia are doing that. And so I think it's a lot of opportunities. Another opportunity, CDL. CDL licensed drivers are in high demand. I had Coca-Cola, Amazon, they're all looking for CDL drivers. And so these are opportunities that our career academies with our high schools can provide, and also our technical colleges can provide as well. So people can get living wage paying jobs. I know in the metro area, a living wage paying job for a single parent with 2 kids is $38.90. And so these jobs can get us right there in that range or very close to it. So workers in the state don't have to go from job 1 to job 2 to job 3, and they can have a quality of life where they can take care of their families, have affordable housing, affordable health care, benefits, and the whole 9.
I'll ask a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
With our unemployment rate as low as it is, I think it's 3.8 or something, very, very low. Yes. And I know that we do have a lot of industry looking for workers. How do we find the workers that the industry needs and keep us moving forward?
Excellent question. One of my platform issues is that I want to provide a modernized online portal where we would connect small business owners and other business owners to skilled workers. And it will be a real-time operation where workers and employers can be able to basically communicate with each other in real time to get these opportunities. Because right now with the Department of Labor, the system that they're using is not user-friendly. The jobs are oldest from 2007 to 2018. And also we don't have the workers that the industry is asking for. Right now in the state of Georgia, we have a need for the film and television industry. We have a need for cybersecurity. We have a need for skilled labor. And so that's one of the ways to do it, but also making sure through the Peer Navigator program that not only we help citizens find these opportunities, but we also get them the skills that the workforce or the workforce is demanding right now. The employers are demanding, because if we can steer unemployed workers into job opportunities that are in high demand, that means that the pay, the benefits, everything will be there for them to be able to have a great opportunity at a living wage paying job and a better quality of life. So I think it's just where the supply and demand meets, we have to make sure that the skilled labor is there to meet that demand and have them trained to meet that demand.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions?
I do.
Hi. Oh, go ahead, Deb.
Representative Boddie, thank you very much for running.
Thank you.
And I was very happy to hear your comments about including adults with developmental disabilities
Yes.
as a resource. I think I sit on the board of a local organization that works to provide services for those folks. And our entire focus over the last 5 years has shifted to competitive employment. And
Yes.
it's just an untapped work force in the state. And I really appreciate you including that in your thoughts with especially the peer program.
What I would say, and Deb, you don't mind if I call you Deb, do you?
No, that's fine.
Deb, one of the things I want to do as the next Georgia Labor Commissioner is advocate to get rid of the practice in the state of Georgia of sub-minimum wage for our disabled workers. I think that is just not what we should be doing as a country and as a state. And so I will work with the Georgia General Assembly to get rid of that practice. I think it's antiquated. I think it's wrong. And we need to make sure that our disabled workers have the same opportunity as a physically able-bodied worker and can work alongside able-bodied workers, because I had the opportunity in high school working with different, at the time, Joey. Joey was disabled, intellectually disabled and physically disabled, but we worked together at Kroger bagging groceries. And Joey was better than me. He could pack more groceries than me and he could bring in more carts than me. And he made the same wage as I did. That is very important. So we need to stop with the discrimination in the state. And thank you for what you do for our disabled citizens.
Well, thank you again for putting that in the mix. And I'm sure you're aware the studies have shown that that type of employee is dedicated, shows up.
Yes.
And it gives them the pride in themselves and their community that they deserve to have as well. So thank you for that.
No, thank you, Deb. Thank you.
One of those, I got one more question, Representative Boddie. And this is, I know they're trying to approach this on the federal level, but it has to do with providing, some wage for caregivers.
Yes.
So oftentimes, we got so many thousands of caregivers, obviously, in the state, who basically are working a full-time job taking care of their parent or their grandparent or something. So it's such a missed thing. And I did it for my mother for a while.
Yes.
And so, basically not working, doing it.
Dan, can I say this? You about to make me fired up again, and I'm gonna let my campaign manager provide the video. Yesterday, I went to the well of the Georgia House of Representatives to argue against a Republican resolution to basically chastise our President Joe Biden, for basically rejecting and vetoing the Kemp waivers, the Kemp Medicaid waivers, because the Medicaid waivers were rejected for two reasons. One, the Medicaid waivers did not go up to the 138% federal poverty level, which is mandated by the CARES Act, the American CARES Act. And two, it had an egregious work requirement. And one of those work requirements that caregivers would not be considered workers. And so I was very proud to vote no against the waivers during Governor Kemp's first administration in the Georgia House of Representatives when he was first elected in 2018. And I was proud to go to the well to basically say that was wrong then and it's wrong now. Also, we need to, at the federal level, classify our caregivers and our ag workers as well to get minimum wage, because right now they're exempt. They should be a part of that minimum wage of $7.25, which needs to be raised. But it's just not I don't think good public policy not to include our caregivers and our ag workers and farm workers in that minimum wage act, federal act. Thank you, Dan, for that question. I was about to get fired up again all over again about that. But thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you, Dan.
Cheryl, did you have a question?
I don't have a question, Representative Boddie, but I do want to thank you for bringing up the comments that you made about the lack of career centers and technology in our Department of Labor. That is the biggest complaint that I've heard, not just during COVID, but before COVID.
Yes.
Workers who need to get information about jobs and need to find out about their claims and need that help, they're not getting it, and they haven't gotten it for a while. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you again for those comments.
No, thank you so much. And I've already met with the consultants, national consultants, and they say it's going to take about 2 years to upgrade the Department of Labor's technology. It's just been neglected for so long, but I'm committed to providing the resources and the dedication to getting that technology upgraded as soon as we possibly can.
Well, thank you much for joining in on our meeting tonight. I wish you the best of luck, and we will get back with you. Hopefully you'll be able to come or send someone to our Kennedy Carter dinner when we have that in August.
Oh, yes, definitely let me know. I would love to be there. Love to be there. And thank you all. I've been to North Georgia about 5, 6, 7 times, and I love North Georgia. So I look forward to coming back during my campaign multiple times before the elections.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I see we have Fred on. I think Fred was having some technical difficulties, I believe. Fred, I'm showing you muted.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Just go ahead. Fred is running for Agricultural Commissioner. And if you want to tell us all about your campaign, go right ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Fred Swann. I am running to be Georgia's next Agriculture Commissioner. Some of you may remember from 2018 when I ran for this position. But people tend to ask me, why are you running for this office? And my answer is, why wouldn't you run for this office? To me, it's the most important office on the ballot, and one of the most, and I'll get to why. But let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I actually came up through the Democratic Party, started out in Macon Bibb Democrats, became their chair, eventually became became a state committee member with the DPG, eventually became the 8th Congressional District Chair for the Democratic Party of Georgia from 2014 to about 2018. Those counties through the 8th, that's about middle Georgia area to South Georgia to Valdosta area. And they had 3 things in common. They're rural, agricultural, and poor. And it was the fact that those 3 things go together so often, and it, coupled with the fact that agriculture is Georgia's #1 industry, that eventually led me to say maybe agriculture is a way to solve this problem for these communities, and led me to run in 2018 to be the Commissioner of Agriculture. I was the Democratic nominee during that race, ran alongside Stacey Abrams and a lot of other great folks. And obviously we didn't quite make it, but we got closer than anyone's ever gotten since Tommy Irvin left that seat. We actually increased our vote share for that seat for Democrats by 70%. And so we feel like we have a real opportunity to finish the job, not just because we increased the vote total by so much and we started out sooner, not just because now it's an open seat because Gary Black has chosen to run for US Senate. We don't have an incumbent to run against, but because the work isn't done. We still have the problems that we faced in 2018, only they've gotten worse. And the things I ran on are still problems. Problems such as food insecurity throughout the state. Too many places throughout the state are food insecure. We're talking about places that don't have access to fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and fresh meats. Many of these communities are rural agricultural communities. There are actually 9 counties throughout the state that don't even have a grocery store or a supermarket. It means you have to drive 30 minutes into another county, sometimes more, just to get access to a grocery store. So that means that the only things you may have to keep you going day to day is maybe a Dollar General. It means that everything you're eating comes out of a bag, a box, or a can. And we know that nutritional deficits will impact children's education. Can't learn if you're hungry. You can't take in as much if you don't have quite the same nutrition as some other people. And so that's going to lead to deficits in achievement, eventually deficits in those communities. And we're seeing a wider and widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. We talk about healthcare, but then if we don't have proper nutrition, then we're just dealing with sick care. Even if we get the Medicaid expansion that we all desperately want and are looking for Leader Abrams to help us get when she's elected as governor, but we still need proper nutrition in all these places. That's why I'm running on a platform of eradicating food insecurity throughout the state. That means increasing the number of small family farms, especially Black farms, which have been on the decline. Over the past century, we've lost 90% of all Black farmers. And I want to see more new and returning farmers getting to the land or back to the land. And I'm going to have a division that in the department that's dedicated just to that point. One of the things that we talk about is rural economic development. One of the key tools we can have for rural economic development is new cash crops that haven't been taken over by corporate agricultural interests. A big one that is kind of on the ropes right now is hemp. In 2018, the 2018 Farm Bill descheduled hemp and made it available, sent it down to the states to regulate. But so Georgia now is regulating its own hemp industry. But guess what? Hemp is a disaster in Georgia. We've gone from, just to talk about the processors, we started out with at most 12 processors throughout the state. We're down to 1 because the fees are so high and the inspections are so difficult. We could make Georgia #1 in hemp if we would just get out of the way. Do you know right now to be a hemp processor, you have to have a permit that costs $25,000 per year. Do you know how much it costs in Florida? $600. Why can they get it right, but we are getting it so wrong? I'm working to make certain that more communities have access to this cash crop as a way to literally grow their way to prosperity. We talk about immigration, we talk about labor, and those are very important things for Democrats. We don't talk about agricultural workers who have some of the least rights of anybody in this state. Agricultural workers tend to be undocumented, tend to be H-1B visa holders, if not. Both of those classes are at the sole discretion of their employers. That means that they suffer massive abuses. And if they report it, well, the visa holders can have their visas torn up and sent back where they come from. The undocumented workers make a call to OSHA about working conditions. Next call is to ICE to get rid of you. That's just wrong. Agriculture is Georgia's #1 industry, but it needs to be an industry that's actually working to protect its workers. We talk about the environment as Democrats. Agriculture is actually one of the leading contributors to climate change greenhouse gas emissions. I will tell you right now, it is the large corporate agribusiness operations that are really the ones that are the big polluters. When you have small farms that are a part of their communities, they are the best stewards of their land. That is why I want to get more small family farms as part of the mix, a bigger percentage of them, and then make the corporate agribusiness interests actually clean up the environmental disasters they cause, not just from climate change, greenhouse gas emissions, but also from the overuse of pesticides that pollute our air, the overuse of fertilizers that destroy our soil, the solid waste runoff that goes into our rivers and streams that then your communities have to pay to clean up. It's time that we did better. Agriculture is Georgia's #1 industry. I want it to be Georgia's cleanest industry. Folks, we have a lot of things we can work on. Agriculture has so much promise for our state, but I want it to work for everybody. That is why our campaign's motto is agriculture for all. I believe every single Georgian can benefit from agriculture. And I'll just take a few minutes here to pause in case anybody has any questions about anything with regard to our campaign.
I want to start out by asking a question. I saw this legislation was proposed. I did not see what happened with it, but there was a bill proposed that was going to limit the right of a property owner to sue a large agricultural operation that was polluting adjacent to them as a nuisance. Do you know what happened with that bill and what's your feeling about that?
I actually don't know. I believe it passed. I'm actually looking that up right now because having to keep up with all of the agri bills was kind of difficult. But that is the so-called Freedom to Farm Act. And I've actually come out against that bill because it's something that Republicans push forward. And you know, freedom to farm, they've called it right to farm. Environmentalists call it right to harm. And it's kind of like, you know, when Republicans push forward the right to work, which meant that was really the right to employers to fire. It's kind of the same thing. They just play with words. And they said it was to protect farmers. But what it ends up doing is protecting, yes, large agribusinesses. I actually, you know, I'm a mushroom farmer, and that's what I do for a living. But I know that just my view of what I do in terms of agriculture is very limited. So I actually formed a farmers council of some of the leading Democratic farmers in the state. And I actually spoke with a cattle rancher, Handy Kennedy, who's the co-chair of my council. I asked him, hey, what do you think about 1150? He was like, it's a big handout to the big guys. I'm a 1,000-acre farmer, but compared to them, I'm small potatoes. And to me, this doesn't protect me. This gives me a little bit, just enough. But it's a big, huge handout to the concentrated animal feeding operations that are really going to pollute the air, pollute the water. You're going to see noise and light pollution like you've never seen. And I believe it passed. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. Because it did have a lot of Republican co-sponsors, but I will say that yes, I spoke out against this. I've fought against it, and I will continue as agriculture commissioner to stand with the environment and against large corporate interests that are basically using things like freedom to farm to really harm our communities.
This is Dan Lovigan. Fred, haven't seen you in a while, but
Dan, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. So I'm glad you addressed that because this is the thing. The total maximum daily load for nutrients, which comes from farm runoff, you know, phosphates and those sort of things, nitrogen in streams is the largest impairment of streams in the South and below the fall line, where most of the water that goes to that is essentially groundwater from the Florida Aquifer and up a little bit farther north, the Cretaceous Aquifer in Sandersville. But so that's kind of shocking that they put forth that, maybe not surprising at all, because they want to do away with those rules that govern the Clean Water Act. And so on the cannabis side, or they'll say the hemp side. So what's the biggest roadblock? What is the impetus for the state keeping a permit price at $25,000 or $26,000, what that is?
Dan, that's a great question. There are actually two things that we know are driving that to be where it is. First of all, there are some in the state, specifically some Republicans, who have just moral concerns about anything cannabis. I mean, we're not talking about even medical marijuana, we're talking about hemp. This is anything less than 3%, 0.3% THC. It is definitely not getting anybody high. We're talking about things that are going to be used to make CBD and hemp fiber for rope and clothing. You know, this is why it was descheduled. It should be pretty non-controversial, but there are some folks who just have a moral impairment to anything having to do with cannabis, and they're just going to fight against it, including the current agriculture commissioner, who has gone on record as saying he'll do anything he can to keep cannabis out of this state. Privately, publicly, he says, oh, we're going to be the #1 state for cannabis, but then he advocates every single legislative session for high fees. And it's because he's like, oh, we maybe choked him out in the crib. There's another side which is working for, which is in the pocket of a few processors to make it so that the state is very non-competitive for most of the small guys. And sorry to say that my probable Republican opponent, Tyler Harper, is one such person. He actually was advocating for much lower fees until he started getting an influx of money from Second Century Ag in his hometown of Wasilla. And then suddenly he was like, oh, we need these fees in order to pay for the program to pay for itself. That's what they say. We need the program to pay for itself. Well, the program can pay for itself if we get more processors, more growers paying a smaller fee and distribute more fees across an entire distribution network, including making retailers pay a small amount. But they want to put everything on the processors. They know if there's no processors, there's nowhere for the product to go. It chokes out the entire industry. And it's sad to see, really. But that's really what's going on.
Yeah, so that argument has to be around the, I'm looking at Tennessee, for example, next door to us. They went legalized hemp production a few years ago.
Yeah.
My former boss, he left to run a hemp farm. He's got property in north central Tennessee. One of the other ones actually left because he owns a completely, basically from growth to distribution, cannabis company in Ohio, companies in Ohio, Michigan, and various other states. But so, I mean, this has to be around the economic argument of the profitability of this for Tennessee. I just looked it up, and they have an amazing website too. So it's friendly to get the permit. It's friendly to start the business.
It's almost like they actually want this industry to thrive. I saw the same thing in Florida. You know, I have a friend who actually did she's a hemp cannabis activist. She did a whole video on this, and she actually interviewed the Florida cannabis director for the Department of Ag, which, by the way, the Department of Ag in Florida has a director of cannabis. That's how seriously they take it. And she interviewed her, and she told her about our fees, and she was like $25,000 for a processor. The director was like, how can anyone stay in business? And then she went on to say, hey, processors, if you guys want to move just over the line to Florida, we'd be more than happy to take your business, because it appears that Georgia doesn't. So yeah, it's a real shame, because this could really revitalize so many communities if we would just get out of the way and let them, you know, make money in a way that really is not harmful to communities at all.
Yeah, I've been looking at the past several years of drought conditions in South Georgia, and basically the ag below the fall line, and it was extreme in 2020, and we've had cycles of this recently. So the water table, the Florida end is still, I guess, okay, but it's still dropped over 100 feet. The Cretaceous aquifers dropped over 100 feet. So large agribusiness farms at this trend are not going to be sustainable for the state.
Yeah, they're not. We need smaller operations, more localized operations. And you kind of get at a good point about sustainability. The pandemic showed us something else, that so much of our network for food and other distribution is very fragile. During the beginning of the pandemic, we saw millions of tons of milk being thrown down the drain, and produce that wasn't getting sent to grocery stores, and meat that was literally just being thrown away. And yet we saw grocery stores with empty shelves. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We know there are consumers who still want it. There are people who are still producing. What happened? It's the producers, it's the processors, excuse me, that middle part, because there are so few within the network. The network is so fragile now. If we had more small scale processors, which is very difficult in Georgia. Actually, if you want to do, say, poultry, if you want to do more than 1,000 broilers in Georgia, you can't. You have to take your chickens out of state. There aren't any processors that are legally allowed to do that here in Georgia, unless they already work for Tyson or Purdue or one of the other big names. It's like that with dairy. It's like that with other meat. It's like that now with hemp. They know processing is the weak point where they can control things. And we've seen that if we would get more small processors who can just work for their communities, we would not see empty shelves. We would see local farmers who could actually feed their communities. And this is the sad part, is that, yeah, you're right. The big agribusiness model in the era of climate change and lowering, water levels is not sustainable. We need something that's closer to our communities and better for our overall environment, including our local, the environments of our local communities. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question for Fred? Well, I think we've had some good discussions tonight with all of our candidates. We appreciate you all popping in on our meeting, and you are welcome anytime. Just let us know if you want to check back in with us, and we will be staying in touch. Keep you posted on the Kennedy Carter dinner that we've got coming up in August. Hopefully you all will be able to attend.
Debbie, could I just interject one little last thing?
Yes.
I just want to make certain everybody knows that if you want to follow our campaign, you can go to fredforgeorgia.com. That's all words, all one word. We are on social media, facebook.com/FredForGeorgia, Twitter @FredForGeorgia, Instagram, FredForGeorgia. And yeah, I need your guys' help, because only together can we make agriculture for all a reality for all of Georgia.
Well, let me also tell the state candidates, in case you're not aware, North Georgia, we understand that we are a red area, but we're trying hard to flip ourselves to blue. And as part of that effort, we are working together. We have a group called North Georgia Democrats. It is a conglomerate of all of our county committees that are working together. As an example, for our Kennedy Carter dinner this year, we will have 3 counties working together to put it on. So we understand that our candidates' time is valuable, and we want to make sure that if you take the time to come up here, that you're reaching the maximum number of voters. We also want to be consistent with our messaging. So we are trying to work together to flip our area blue. So we invite you to keep up with us. We are all working hard. I think a little more coordinated than we have in the past, and hopefully we'll be making some progress. So we'll see what happens this time. Back to business. Does anybody have any business that we haven't covered before I let everybody go? Okay, if not, we will don't forget our social event on the 19th. We're tentatively have it scheduled at, okay, Dan and or Cheryl, what is the Mexican restaurant name we're talking about? I've forgotten.
El Ranchero on East
Okay.
Forest Street.
All right, El Ranchero, and we will post that information on Facebook, so keep an eye out And like I said, keep an eye out also for those signs that should be coming in, and I'll distribute them to whoever would like to get them.
So is that May 19th?
No, April. We have what we have decided to do is our first meeting of the month, which is the first Tuesday, will be a Zoom business meeting. Our second meeting every month will be a social event, because we were able to attract a lot of people to our social events last summer that don't usually attend Zoom. I think they just like to come and meet with like-minded people, and we got some energy and some excitement going when we were doing that. So we're trying to, now that summer's here and it's warming up and we can get back into large areas and hopefully COVID goes away, or at least is controllable. We're going to try to go back to those social events because I think our membership really likes that. And I think it's beneficial for the growth of our local party. So we will be doing that through the summer at least, and then we'll see what it looks like in the fall. So the fourth Tuesday of the month, no, third Tuesday of the month, instead of being an executive meeting, will be a social event. And we will
Okay.
post that on our Facebook page so everybody can see what we're doing. We do it at different locations. It's not going to be the same one every time. We've done a ice cream social, we did dinner, we've done all kinds of little things. So that's the plan for the summertime.
And what's the time on that? Sorry, I'm just trying to get it on the calendar.
Probably at 6, I would guess. Is that
6:30.
Cheryl? 6:30.
6:30.
Okay.
Okay. And so I wanted to just say one more thing, if I may.
Sure.
Again, I'm doing a telephone town hall event tomorrow night. So would love.
If you can send us something, we'll
Yep.
post it on our Facebook page
Great.
to remind
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Well, I'll get Vinny to do that. And we're looking to put together, we've already done a meet and greet up there, and we're looking to put together a fundraising event in late April, early May. So if you know anybody who would like to help us with that, please feel free to reach out. And again, so grateful for the strong support I have from so many folks up in Dalton. Thank y'all.
All right. I think that's the end of our meeting. I appreciate everyone zooming in tonight, and we will meet again in 2 weeks. Thank you all.
Good night.
Thank
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.